important elements in your class, Moodle, because you need to know where this information is so that you, when you are working on your term project elements that are due this Sunday, you'll know where to find them, all right? Julia, can you see my application screen now?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, thank you. And you can see the Moodle page now as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to talk about the schedule. And if you look at your schedule, you will see that Module 1 ends on Sunday. So there are some important elements that you need to make sure that you complete before then. Now remember, you have 2 chances to get really high grades on the module test, all right? So I always recommend that you take it first to kind of get a feel of what in the world you're looking at so that you know what you're going to need to go back. It's the same questions, they'll just be mixed up and all that kind of stuff. So when you're reading chapters 1 and 2, which is what your test is going to be on, you will want to be sure that you are learning the terms. And heck, if you wanted to just put them on a little piece of paper with the quick definitions or something to help prepare you, you can have that with you while you're taking the exam. All right? I mean, you can try and look them up on the book, but you're not going to have enough time, okay, because you only have a certain amount of time to do the test. Okay? So keep that in mind. It is timed so that you don't sit there and look at it, you know, question by question. But this is important because we're building on the information that you're learning in these 2 chapters for the next module. All right. So when you look here at the test, all right, you see it's due Sunday night. All right. When you click on it, you're going to see that you have 2 attempts. It's going to close. Oh, look at that. It actually closes close on Sunday the 28th at 11:59. You only have 55 minutes for each time you take it, right? And it will record the highest grade. You'll just click on there and you'll go ahead and start taking your test. All right? Yes, ma'am.
Now, before we take the test,
yes, that's a great question. There's a 4-hour delay. So there's a 4-hour delay from when you end and try the next one. Yeah, that's an excellent question. All right. Questions about the test? Yes.
How many questions?
I think I say it. Multiple choice and true false.
Oh, okay.
Very simple. There are 27 questions. Yeah. Thank you. I think it's very reasonable. It's not to try and trip you up. It's not trying to make anybody get bad grades. It's to reinforce the reading. Okay? All right. Now, the other thing that is due is this term project right here. And that's what we're going to talk a lot about today. The term project it's divided, the whole project is divided into steps so that you don't try and do everything at the end of the semester because that's not good for you and it's not good learning, all right? So what I've done is I've broken this whole process down so that there's going to be midpoints throughout the semester for parts of the project that you will be doing, okay? And we're going to be talking about that today. And remember that this whole project is to help you to connect, communicate respectfully and effectively with people who are different from yourself. who live outside the United States. Now, I have a lot of students who take this class online who are preparing to go abroad, all right? And they love taking this class to prepare themselves to think about what do they need to be aware of? What do they need to be respectful of? What do they need to be conscious of? And all those kinds of things. So it's got a practical application. Okay, so let's look at a couple of things. First, there's the overview of the term project, all right? So when you click on this, it's going to give you all the elements of the term project itself. So it's slow today.
You don't really have
I don't? Good.
to.
I can just make it go away.
Oh, just kidding.
Oh, I hate when it does that. Okay. Essentially, the project overview looks like this. So when you click on it, you're going to see this. All right. And Julia, you're going to see. And so it has each one of the steps to do a term project. Now, for some of you, this is your first time doing a term project at a college level. So a lot of this is by design to give you step-by-steps, okay? Because I don't expect you to have had English 111 yet. None of that. So this could be very, very new to you, so don't worry, don't panic, all right? So every step is going to be easy. And it's designed this way so that I can help you as well as our writing lab can help you, okay? So what we're going to do is think of it this way. There's like a timeline, right? And in the timeline, this is when the project is due. The first thing you got to do, and that's what we've been doing already, is kind of thinking about what are some areas of interest that you might like to look at. The first thing you're going to do, which is due Sunday night, is you're going to give me 3 proposals on one document, one piece of paper, right? Which basically means that it's going to look like, here's your paper, and here's your name, and then you're going to have one paragraph, a second paragraph, and a third paragraph. Yes?
For example, one for each country.
Correct. Correct. So every paragraph, all right, and you can get it all on one piece of paper, on one side. It's better if it's double spaced, but it doesn't have to be. You can do it single spaced. We're not going crazy on this. This is just a proposal. Now, in each of the paragraphs, all right, you need to have a couple of elements here. All right? You will need to identify, number one, what is the country you want to study? All right? You got to tell me why you're interested in learning more about that country. What's the personal connection, potentially in the future, in the past? A lot of people like to trace back their ancestor kind of connections. You need to tell me, and this is where it gets tough, IPC terms or concepts. IPC terms or concepts. Remember, IPC stands for interpersonal communication. So these can come from anywhere in the textbook. Anywhere. All right? You just really skim and scan all the bolded kinds of concepts. And we've talked a lot about them today already, right? And so social construction of reality, personality theory, process of communication, norms, phatic processes for greetings and goodbyes. Lots and lots of different things we've already talked about, but then you can move forward in the book and look at other ideas as well. You need to give me 3, what is their ego about? You may be interested in trying to look at their nonverbal communication and how it's connected to gender, to individualistic or collectivist kinds of society. The United States is highly individualistic. We are all about an individual can do anything and be anything that you want to be. All right? If you take that attitude to Japan and you work with countries in Japan, they will not like you because they are a collectivist culture. And they believe that the team is more important than the individual. The community, everybody works together. So automotive, you decide you want to go work for Toyota, you go over to Japan, and they ask you to come over to do an exchange of engineering techniques, work, assembly line production, all that stuff. And if you go there with an American attitude, you won't go far, right? And so what you do is you do your homework in advance to try and understand how do you communicate. So, and you really find out all those things first. Don't start by talking about business. You're going to first talk about how are they and who are they and family and those kinds of things before you ever get into business. Okay? So this is all the kind of stuff that's very important in interpersonal relationships with people. Okay, so you're going to need to come up with three of them, all right? Now I'm going to show you my fast track class that just completed. I'm going to show you the kinds of topics they had. Let me find it. Because this is what I'm going to do based on what you come up with. Oops. All right, so I'm going to approve the country. I'm going to list your name and the country that I approve, and these are the IPC terms that you're going to drive your research for your understanding, all right? So it's going to give an intellectual approach, and it can be pretty fun. So you can see, one woman wanted to go to Barcelona, Spain for soccer training camps for kids. And so she was really interested in, what are the family communications? What are some of the characteristics for communicating with a mom or a dad, or which one over the other, and kids and those kinds of things. So she really wanted to get into those things. This was one of the most outstanding papers I have ever seen, this project. This person went to Israel as a student, and he won't mind me talking about as a Christian, to understand and visit all the Christian holy sites. And when he arrived, he learned, well, wait a minute. Muslims have a very, very important religious community and religious sites, holy sites. And guess what? So does Judaism. All right? So very, very important. And he learned through this he wanted to understand why can't they just get along, all right? So look at this. He looked at religious customs influencing communication norms, all right? So the Jewish community and the Islamic community, they have the same kinds of food restrictions, all right? So they don't eat pork and those kinds of things because they come down through the Abraham link. And that's not Abraham Lincoln, that's the prophet Abraham. Okay. And then he wanted to look at what are their instrumental needs? What do people physically need to help them also effectively communicate? What are their communication needs? What do they use for compliance gaining strategies? All right. Remember that list that we came up with, competition, rewards, all those elements that's in the chapter 1. And then the conflict management and resolution. I mean, it was an outstanding research project. So those are some of the examples of what you can do. Okay. And that's due when? Sunday before midnight. 3 different paragraphs, 3 different countries, obviously outside the United States, 3 theories, IPC theories, at least 3, you can have more, and then why? Why are you interested in this country? Why is this something that intrigues you? So this is how it works. When you submit your project proposal, it gets a timestamp and even a day stamp. And what I do is I open them in order of submission. So the first people get what they want, all right? So the earlier you submit it, the better it's going to be. Okay, so you're going to get what you want. Back to wake up. All right? So think about that. So I suggest you do it earlier rather than later. Okay? All right. Now, after we determine what is your term project, then what we're going to do is you're going to do research. And you're not going to wait here. You're going to do it here. And you're going to submit what's called an annotated bibliography. And it's not hard, right? But what you're going to do is you're going to list your research that you have already done. Here are 2 pieces of a minimum of 5 sources that you need. How many is your minimum? 5. 2 that you must include is the textbook. That's 1. All right. Another that you must include is going to be a video. All right. That will need to be approved. All right. So what will happen is you're going to have the textbook. You're going to do research on a video, and videos can be great for getting your information. It can be a documentary, geography channel, history channel, lots of very reliable, authentic research. And then you got to do 3, 4, and 5. All right. So you got to come up with 3 that are going to be additional. Now that's if you're looking for a C. If you're looking for a B or an A, you should have more than 5.
What are these for? Textbooks and so it was 5 paragraphs. That was the question, right? Paragraphs. That I just zoned out a little bit.
Okay.
I heard 5, and then writing the textbook.
These are what is going to be in your bibliography, your list of sources. And you're going to write a paragraph about each of the sources. Okay. And there's a sample in there. Okay? So, not here, but it'll be in your next module. So don't worry about this right now. Okay. Other than to know that your textbook and video plus 3, 4, or 5, additional research items. And you go to the library and get help. And you get extra credit when you go to the library for help, right? Okay, so there, right, there's going to be another midpoint. If you submit a video that I don't approve, and that does happen, I'll tell you on when you submit your bibliography, all right, because I'll be watching everybody's videos. If it's approved, then you don't have to do the next step. If it's not approved, then the next thing you're going to do is to resubmit a video that does get approved. Right? Now, the next stage, our due point, is negotiable. Right? As of right now, you need to write a 3 to 5 page term paper. However, if you don't want to write a term paper and you would rather give an oral presentation, you can give an oral presentation with a PowerPoint. So I'm going to give you guys some options, all right? Or if you wanted to do something artistically or creatively, I am not stuck on a term paper because I know that term papers are not the best way for people to learn, all right? And if you have a better, more creative way of processing the information and teaching it to your classmates, that's awesome. Okay? Because that's what you're going to do. The goal here is to teach your classmates about the country that you're researching and what you learned. That's what you're going to be doing. You're teaching each other. Right? So out of the 3 of you, you're only going to get 1, and that's the one you're going to focus on. Question?
Are we going to read this out loud?
No. No, I don't ever make anybody, even my public speaking, I don't let anybody read out loud. What we do for the term paper is you will just submit it by a certain date so that your classmates can read it.
Okay.
All right? Because the culminating element is that you're going to focus on 2 term projects from your classmates. 2 term projects, okay, from your classmates. And you're going to write a 1-page reaction paper to it. Okay? So you're going to watch their video, you're going to read their paper, and then you're going to do a one-page, double-spaced reaction paper. What did you learn? In fact, I have a list of questions that you'll answer. So you get to choose. There's 18 of us in this class, including Wednesday students. So you'll be able to choose from everybody's. If you do decide to do an oral presentation, that's great. I will videotape you and post it so that your classmates can see it. Right? So lots of flexibility. I mean, if it was me, I would never write a term paper. I hated writing term papers in graduate school especially. So what I would do is an oral presentation. 3, 4, 5, no more than 5. Yeah. And you'll want to meet with me and I'll give you the guidelines. I'll give you a checklist of how to do your slides, like I teach it in my public speaking class. Yeah? Yes?
Would you allow a little rehearsal in front of you prior to getting class?
Oh, I'd love it. Yeah. That's a really good thing to do. Yeah. Yeah. So it's not so daunting, is it? Especially when you break it down. To have it, because you're all procrastinators. Who in here does not procrastinate? I believe you don't. And you've got a planner. So you 2, I got you. All right. The rest of you?
You already know I am. I email. I'm a procrastinator.
That's right. That's right. So the procrastinators, this is to help you, all right? Because honestly, I'm teaching you a skill set so that for all your future classes, all you have to do is to break a term project down exactly the way I've got it.
Can you do
Yes,
the
it's a good question in case Julia can't hear. Stephanie wants to know if the term paper needs to be an MLA. I prefer a PA, all right? But I also don't go in and double check it, all right? I believe, and the reason is because comm studies is a social science. Yes. That's exactly. MLA and APA. They are two styles. Actually, there's a third one that we teach on our campus, which is Chicago. Every discipline has a guiding authority to say how they want research to be conducted and research to be reported. MLA is used by English classes, right? And it's usually what's taught in the high school level, right? APA is used by the social sciences, so history, psychology, sociology, comm studies, anthropology, etc. That's APA, American Psychological Association. Chicago is usually used by history students only. However, I had to learn history as an English student in the 1970s. And it was What's really good about Chicago, just as a side note, is that Microsoft Word is designed for Chicago. It's really easy. So in grad school, I'm sorry?
APA 6.
Whatever's the latest. I'm not going to be your English teacher and check it.
No, I've already been through the English class.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking.
And I'm not going to even be like some of the other professors who want it to be exact. I don't care. All right? You learn that in their classes. In my class, I'm looking for content. So don't stress. It doesn't hurt to go to the writing lab, because the writing lab, you'll get extra credit points if you go there for help, especially in the annotated bibliography. But you guys got this. This is all part of our learning. Okay? You got this. Any other questions? Okay. Now, here's some ways to help you figure out what in the world you want to study. All right, you guys. We talked last Wednesday a little bit about some of the nuances about visiting cultures that are different from your own. And I said, I drew the line because I would not eat monkey brains. And somebody shared with me about some of the other foods that he was exposed to. So there's lots of different traditions that people have that oftentimes we just don't understand. And let me give you a couple of them, because this is a list of the 100 top taboos in the world. Okay? It's a little bit old. I should probably get it updated. But this is a report that said at this point in time, if you committed one of these behaviors, you could face a consequence. And that consequence could be a range of behaviors, right, that go all the way from, a frown to capital punishment or death, right? And in between here could be things like prison or a hefty a financial fine that you have to pay. It might be community service work, all right, where you have to give back to the community. And depending on how you view things, you could just be kicked out of a community, what we call ostracized, right? Or out of family, etc. So on this continuum, there's lots of different consequences of behaviors outside of the United States and inside the United States. You know, you cannot marry interracially in North Carolina and South Carolina and Alabama up until about 10 years ago. It was against the law. Yeah. Okay. So if you were a black person, you wanted to marry a white person, you could go to prison. Yeah. I think South Carolina was one of the last ones to change. Yeah. It's pretty amazing. So, and I don't know the exact year, so I might be a little bit off. But here's another one. You know what eugenics is? Okay. Eugenics is one of the reasons why people are afraid of getting vaccinated right now. Because the United States has a history of experimenting on people who could not afford, literally, or were not educated enough to say, no, that's not right. Right? So eugenics took a couple of different routes. Back in the 1920s and 30s and even 40s, states as progressive as California was among these, well, else North Carolina, and they would forcibly sterilize people who were mentally, not mentally, well, they did some mentally ill, but mostly like Down syndrome. Okay? Yes, mentally handicapped. And that was so that they could not reproduce anymore like them. Okay? Certain African Americans were sterilized. Right? The Tuskegee study. How many of you know about the Tuskegee study? All right? Okay. So males, especially in the Tuskegee study, were treated for syphilis, supposedly given a placebo, supposedly given something to help them. It was nothing. It was a placebo. And these men went back saying they were being treated and continued to infect their spouses and everybody else and continue to degenerate in health condition and die. Okay. So that's only one example. In fact, my husband is reading this amazing book right now about some of the race relations, and that Nazi Germany looked at the United States as possible protocols for eugenics, and decided, well, guess what? We don't want to go as far as those Americans. But then they got on the bandwagon and went farther than the Americans in their eugenics, which is it's a type of genocide that will erase claims of different kinds of unwanted in a society. Okay, those are extremes, and thank heaven we're not as bad as we were in the past. But still, get your shots, everybody. Get your shots, okay? So, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. But here are just some things, and it's interesting because when I pass this list out to my students, half the time they don't know what many of these things are, right? So, I'm going to give you some that you might think you cannot even imagine would be a problem, all right? So how many here like to dance? And how many of you like to dance with somebody who is a different gender than you? You could go to jail for that in many countries. All right?
Montana, you get fined for some cows, so.
Yes, you can do that. Exactly. Exactly. And so stealing cattle, stealing other kind of livestock from other people, eating with people of the opposite gender, masturbation. All right? Guess what? You could, not just in certain churches say you're going to hell, but you could get put into prison. Well, masturbation is not just kids. Yeah. So, now, if you masturbate in public in the United States, you're going to get arrested. Okay? But just doing it, even in private in some countries, could be a problem. And some of these are kind of gross, but let's see, I don't want to say, drinking alcohol, you could get arrested, and not even because of underage. Breeding with the mentally ill. Criticizing religious doctrine. It could be that. I think it's more along the lines of probably the Shia, the different Islamic religions, more of some of their laws. So if you criticize like the leadership or some of those, that could get in trouble. Yes.
So there was a guitar who would I beat?
Yeah.
And one of our ladies.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. Do not
I
smoke
didn't
it.
know that.
Yeah. Well, no, not always. Not always. Okay, so, there's things like arranged marriages. Some of you may think that's the most awful thing in the world. But there's a whole lot of arranged marriages that are a lot happier than those of us who married for love. All right? So, now, if it's an arranged marriage where, the young woman is only 14 or 15, okay, now that might be a problem. Okay? So that's where you want to look and see if you can try and understand. Making and selling of poison, prostitution. Outside of Nevada, you don't do that here in the United States. Okay? Smoking is on here. Wearing a religious symbol different from the dominant religious group. Rape. How do we feel about rape in the United States? 2 thumbs down for rape, right? Okay. You can, and I often have done this as a discussion with students. Does it deserve the death penalty or a prison? Death? Castration. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't know about death.
We don't feel like.
Okay, so yours is a position about the death penalty in general. All right, exactly. So, and absolutely that could be. So you don't even believe in that as any means of a punishment. But some do believe that if somebody is raped, it deserves that.
Some countries forbid that people put down the kill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They think it's as take this money.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And the classic one of having a shoe thrown at you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? You don't want that to happen. That's an insult.
Did it happen to President Bush?
Yeah, it did. Now, I mean, how do we feel about pornography? You don't have to say, hopefully. Porn, okay, there we go. What if it's child porn?
Way to change the vibe in there.
I know.
What is that about?
Okay, so you see, and even baby porn.
Yeah.
Oh my, what's
It's out there.
It's out there, you guys. Oh, you guys, exactly. So here's one: wearing masks.
What kind of man?
Well, is it this kind? What do people think of you in the United States right now? Some groups of people not wearing masks. Okay, what? Okay, exactly. So even something about a mask here in the United States, there are many people who still don't believe that it is a problem and that masks are necessary. So, I mean, everything is in here. City. Sure, what do you call it? Oh, there's some. There's, yeah. No. All right, this is not a sex ed class. Okay, so sometimes when you look at these things, it says like, really? Fringe kiss. That can get you in, oral sex. All right? Anal sex.
Where's your mind today? Like, it's just, geez.
But that's lying. It's culture.
Polygamy. Multiple spouses. Okay. Some religions here in the United States. So, and like what you were saying, Mike, traps for personal property can get you sent to jail in some places. All right. So, let's talk then about culture. I want you to recognize that when we talk about culture, and I know I've drawn this for you already, but I just want to remind you again. It's the way we do or say or not do or say things around here. All right, and here could be a classroom, could be the Sand Hills campus, could be the basketball team, could be the auto classes, it could be a lot of different things, okay? And there are 3 perspectives that most of us are going to be looking at when we look at different continuums. All right, attitudes, values, or beliefs. All right, so, and there's some very interesting beliefs out there. And some of them are still part, if you were to go to the Australia Aborigine communities or into the Amazon, some of the Aborigines, or even into some of the places still in Australia again, and then into some of the islands, etc. You're going to find some behaviors that's perfectly acceptable for them that would not be acceptable for us. But it's the way we, as a community, operate. All right? And it's our community, again, here, so that when you go elsewhere, do you change or not? If you judge these people based on you, me, myself, and I, in Moore County or Polk County, if everything is only based, if you do what's called the judgmentalism of everybody else, of their attitudes, their values, and beliefs, strictly based on you being the center of your universe. You are the center. You will fall victim to the concept of being ethnocentric. Ethnocentric. So remember that questionnaire I had you guys do. I'm going to have you do one at the end. And my hope is that after coming to this class, you're going to see that our ethnicity here, community, is not the only way. And that many of us could indeed learn a lot from others. Whether it might be, how do they take care of the land? How do they take care of animals? Are they stewards to the world, stewards to the land? There's a lot of times that we can say, no, some things I will not change, okay? Some of you may say right up here that God and country are the most important things in the world, and you're willing to die for them. Others of you might say, my children and spouse, I'm willing to die for, right? It's all over the place. What do you hold? Some of you might be really motivated by the almighty dollar. Some of you may be motivated by free time. It's things that you value. Beliefs, usually connected to a religion, all right? But it could also be a political stance. A belief is what you absolutely agree with, and you don't need proof. You don't need proof. Attitudes are one of the areas that these are coming from. Taboos. Because the attitude is what is okay or not okay. Is it okay or not okay? So, if I was to say to you, Portia, that I'm going to arrange your marriage, and I have selected the person, and you are required, all right, to marry that person, all right? But you only want to marry for love.
Yeah.
Okay? All right. So what are you going to do? If you have one attitude that says, no, I don't care about your love, love will grow. You will learn to love each other. All right? Well, maybe you just can't even fathom that. That may be something that you want to research and you want to find out. Do the people in India have it better than we do? That would be something you would research. You would look at the analytics and the happy marriages and amount of divorces and lots of different. You may say, okay, wait a minute, polygamy is not such a bad thing, but it should also not just be men having multiple spouses. It should be for women to have multiple spouses.
I'm saying though.
In Africa, as long as you can afford it, then you can do it. In certain parts of Africa.
Yes, sir.
Okay, another story. There was Loretta Del Mar. It's a little beach up in Barcelona.
Yeah.
And my buddies were saying, let's go to the beach. I said, heck, I don't want to go to the farm. We got to go to different places.
Yeah.
One of them come back and said, Tony, the beaches are topless.
Okay.
Women can get fined if they don't have their house off. So I rented a hotel and booked swimming trunk. I'm 24 then, so.
Of floors, absolutely. Yeah, and the bottoms are screens anyway, so. All right, so yeah, it's interesting how when we talk about sex, everybody wakes up. All right, you guys are good. Send me emails if you have questions. I will not be on campus Wednesday and Thursday, but I will be checking emails.
Portia,
Yes.
on Netflix, there's a show called Indian Matchmaking
Uh-huh.
that has to do with the arranged marriage, and they take you through the entire process.
Wow.
It's pretty amazing.
I'm not
really
really,
good.
I'm not really against the arranged marriages, you know? It seems
I know.
like it works out for most of them.
Oh,
We're
let me
talking
take
about
attendance
friends
real
that's
fast.
married for like 18 years now.
Yeah.
Oh,
2 boys.
so-
See, they knew what they were expecting. So
No,
that's why I worked out.
Oh.
They didn't know.
Really? What?
Yeah.
They get a matchmaker, and the parents will actually talk to everybody and do everything. And all they do is and all.
Our 3 countries, did we get to choose the one
No, I'm gonna choose it for you.
country?
The 3 that you
Yeah,
propose,
3 proposals.
you pick.
Yeah.
And then my recommendation is you put them in order of preference, so the one that you really want the most, put on top.
Okay.
And then, if you've given me good explanation and good IPC terms, and if yours comes in first, then you'll get what you want.
You know in Singapore you can't do no more spin.
Yes,
You got in trouble because it's there and the cops.
yep. Yeah, I spent 2 weeks in Singapore, and I walked off with a Cosmo magazine, and my hostess said, we must trash that right away because it was contraband, because it was not allowed in Singapore. But she also advised me in advance that you get caned.
Well, it won't take pepper spray everywhere with her. Even when we travel, but the one place she got caught with it was Singapore. They didn't let her take it
Singapore
with
is
her.
very clean.
They literally held her.
Yeah.
But every other country didn't say anything about it. They for protection.
It doesn't
In case
matter.
anyone tries to attack.
It doesn't matter in that country. You know, it's like I used to say to my kids, you live in my house, it's my rules. You get your own house, you can have your own rules. So when you go to those countries, it's their rules.
What's the reason for not choosing
Because
clean?
because people are awful with gum, and spitting is disgusting.
And it leaves after a while, it leaves the mark.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
I mean, manifest fast. So there was a guitar, and we like to get to a reading. Come on. My unit goes over there for a year. We couldn't spend the regular money that was spent when we were full grad.
Yeah.
So our colonel was okay for us to flight ticket car back in the United States.
Yeah.
All right. Halfway back, the ladies would get to go to a restroom, whatever, take their burqas off
Oh, yeah.
and put their blue jeans on.
Yeah.
And they're, oh man, when they come out there, you got to really see them.
Yeah.
All right. On the way back, 2 weeks later, there they were, blue jeans, all that there.
Yeah.
But one by one, they went to the back
Restroom.
and come back. You could only see their eyes. You could only see their eyes. Good.
That would be a tough one.
I was
That would be really tough.
okay. I thought that was fast.
Yeah. Honey, I love having you visit.
All right, I'm going to Rubens.
Yeah.
I'll be here Wednesday, but I try to stay caught up. I try to do my stuff Friday, Saturday because I did my mom.
Yep.
She had her 80th birthday on 17th.
Yep.
So there I was taking her a carrot cake, one of her favorite.
Oh, you're a good son.
When I got there, they had 3 cakes already, big bag of flowers and balloons. I said, well, I don't bring anything else, so I was cheap. I go by food line. But anyway,